Hey everybody, I'm back. It's Scott Gold. Today we're in the kitchen. We're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be cooking pasta fagioli, also called pasta fazool sometimes. So here we have everything you're going to need for the pasta fagioli. We have a enamel cast iron pot, which is great for making stews, soups, because it won't burn on the bottom if you have a really nice heavy pan like this. Um, we've already put about 4 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of the pan, and we've browned about 4 cloves of garlic, and then removed it and left the olive oil in the pan. We also have about 2 diced up carrots. We have a whole diced onion, 2 ribs of diced celery. You have our olive oil. I use the regular, not the extra virgin. Virgins can be overrated sometimes. Then we have the ditalini pasta that you'll make separately. We have Parmigiano Reggiano grated cheese, chicken stock, a can of crushed red tomatoes. This one is a 28 ounce. The star of our dish is the cantellini beans, black pepper, kosher salt, oregano, and crushed red pepper. Then we also have fresh basil and fresh Italian parsley. So let's get into it. We have this on a low heat so far. We're going to put it a little bit higher, and we're going to add in our diced onion. Now I like to cook the garlic first and then leave it whole rather than chopping it up really fine, because that way you can pull it all out. You want to take that out after a couple of minutes, because if you just leave that in there, it's just going to continue to, well, burn actually. So you don't want that, and you don't want to be biting down into big pieces of garlic. So we're going to add this back in, but we're going to mash it up, and it'll just sort of add to the complexity of the flavor rather than biting down on a large piece of garlic. Nobody really wants that. So we're going to let that cook for a little while. Then we're going to add in our carrots. This is 1.5 large carrots. And I like to dice everything very finely for this, because you're going to also be having, if it was just a soup, you might leave it larger in piece, because it's going to cook for a long time, and if it's too small, it'll break down. But in this pasta fagioli, you're going to be adding the beans, and you're also going to be adding the pasta itself. So it's already going to be a pretty thick, hearty soup. So you don't want too many hearty things in there. And we have the celery. Now, I don't love celery, and this is one of the things that I will say. Chop it up as finely as you can if you're not a big fan of it. But don't leave it off, because you really do miss out on a flavor, that you're going to have there. And if you dice it really finely, it's not going to be, again, a big piece where you're going to feel like you're chomping down on celery. It's just going to add to a subtlety of flavor. So I'm going to add some crushed red pepper flakes. And, you know, I like them, so I would say we're going to do half a tablespoon. I probably put in closer to a whole one, but, you know, that's the thing. Do what you like, what flavors you enjoy. I mean, you could, we're making this meatless, but you could definitely add Italian sausage, and I think that would be great. Um, so, but again, it would make it a little more thick, so you're going to want to probably add some additional liquid, which our liquid is going to be, of course, the tomatoes, but we're also going to have the chicken stock. And if we need more than that, we can always add a little bit of water. So that's no problem. Put in our chicken stock. Now I like to, whenever possible, go with low sodium or sodium free, which is what this is. And that way you can control the salt yourself. You're not beholden to however much salt they've put in here. Add it yourself. So, pro tip. So if you make this for your husband or wife, they're going to love it. If your lover makes this for you, you're going to do things you don't even do for your husband. So that was a 32-ounce container of chicken stock. Now we've got some volume in here. We can go ahead and put that burner on higher setting. And I'm adding the liquid as well. We have our ground black pepper. I like a lot of pepper. If you like less, leave it less. But I would say that was probably a tablespoon, or half a tablespoon. You know, it's not particularly exacting. I'm just showing you how I do it, you know. That was the oregano. And put as much as you like. You know, that's the thing about cooking. It's like, once you learn, in the beginning, it's sort of like you stress out about measurements and having every ingredient, and it's really about technique. I mean, once you learn technique, you can apply that to whatever it is you're cooking. And when you don't have an ingredient, you kind of know what it tastes like, and you say, okay, well, I don't have, you know, celery. I could use a leek if I had that in the refrigerator, or, you know, substitute something else that you think would work. But once you got the technique, make stuff according to your tastes. It's like I say, steal from the best and make it your own, meaning incorporate your own ideas. Get inspiration from something and change it to fit your preferences. Okay, now we have some salt. Now, tomatoes, excuse me, about the dog. Tomatoes need a lot of salt, and you don't want to over salt them though, so you're gonna just need to start tasting. But I'm gonna start out here with half a tablespoon and see where we are and add from there. So I gave that a taste, and it definitely has a lot of red pepper flakes, which I love. You'll probably want to go lighter on that if you're not one that likes things real spicy. Anthony, would you get the dog? And remember, the Parmigiano Reggiano is very salty, so we're going to add some of that into it in the earlier part of the cooking process, and then you're probably going to add some more over the top of it later. So bear in mind that has a lot of salt, so don't overdo it. You know, you can always add, but you're not going to be able to obviously take away. So, all right, so we've put in all of our spices, our chicken stock. Get that out of here. Our vegetables, our tomatoes. Okay, so we've got the garlic. So I just kind of like to smash it up a little bit, like this. With this fork. And we're going to be adding in the herbs as well, so I don't really care if they get mixed in a little bit. It's not going to make one bit of difference. If you kind of make it into a paste like that, it's just going to harmonize really well. Okay, so into here we're adding the garlic back in. We're adding the basil and the Italian parsley. You could add, some people add 2 cans of the beans, since that's, you know, the kind of one of the stars of the soup. But, you know, this is going to cook down quite a bit too, so it looks a little lacking in the beans at this point, but I don't want it super thick. I mean, I want it to resemble a soup, not like a sauce. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of the cheese now as well, which normally you kind of add at the end, but this adds, again, a kind of a complexity of flavor. So and so long as you have enough liquid in there, it's just going to kind of blend in. I would say that was about 1/4 of a cup. It's smelling really good. And you're just going to let that do its thing. Our lid on this. And take note of the time. So, check back on it and give it a stir every 15, 20 minutes. But I would say you're going to want that to simmer for probably an hour, and it should reduce down. Let's talk a little bit about the pasta that we're going to be using. This is the ditalini, and you're going to want to follow the directions. This requires 10 minutes for al dente, but if you're using it in a soup or stew, definitely reduce that. So by approximately 3 minutes. So we're going to put this to boil for 7 minutes. Now, when you fill your pot, make sure that you salt your water. Your water should be salty like the ocean, so taste it. But don't over salt it, because the salt is going to affect the pasta, and that's going into your soup overall. So it's one more element of salt you have to contend for. So if you oversalt it, it'd be best to just dump it out and start over, because if it's too salty, it's not going to be good. One other side note about pasta is a lot of people, when they're making pasta for, to make spaghetti or mastacholi or something like that, you see them taking some olive oil and drizzling that over the top. I wouldn't recommend that, only because that has they say, well, so it doesn't stick together. But if you think about it, you want sauce to stick to the noodles. They're not going to stick together if you remove it, promptly. And if you put a lot of oil on it, then the sauce that you just spent all this time making just slides right off the pasta. So I would recommend cleaning in between, because the last thing you want is a huge giant mess in the end of the night to completely spoil the mood of your Valentine's Day celebration. So trust me, you'll want to clean while you go. All right, we're going to add our pasta in, and you're probably not going to want to end up using all this, but I usually just add the whole thing. I mean, pasta's cheap. So in the meantime, let's give our the rest of our soup a taste here. And now remember, this is boiling, so be careful. You don't want to burn your throat. You're going to be using that later. Very good. The pepper flakes have mellowed out. They were extremely intense in the beginning, but they're mellowing, and it's very good. So we'll come back once we have this simmered down some more, and we're ready to add our pasta in. All right, guys, we made it to the end. We have been letting this cook for a little over an hour now, and it's reduced down quite a bit, but it looks really nice. And we're going to add in our pasta, and we'll just see how much we want to add here. It's up to you. I cooked the whole box, but this you could definitely freeze without any degradation to the taste of it. I mean, very easy, and really holds up well to freezing. No problem there. Yeah, so probably about half the pasta went in. And I am cooking, toasting some bread with, I'm going to put some olive oil on it, but I like to toast it first and then brush on the olive oil and rub a whole clove of garlic on it. It really turns out nicely that way. So there we have it. Pasta Fagioli. I put some aside here and added a little bit more cheese on top, and let's go ahead and give it a try. How you doing? Very good. When you freeze it, you may end up, when you go to reheat it, add some water, or you could even add chicken stock back to it, because it does tend to need a little bit more moisture. But water would be just fine. If you haven't subscribed yet, it's not too late. If you have, welcome to the family. I love you for watching.